Buffalo Jet fan, I told you about this before we signed on. I'm minding my own business last night, and I see a Yahoo Sports report, right? So the Yahoo is supposed to be a reputable media outlet. It's not supposed to be, one of these independent outlets that just speculate on trades. Charles Robinson's the one who wrote the article. He's covered the NFL forever. And I see the article, and of course, the headline from the article is teams expected to, quote, check in on Jets Garrett Wilson. So I'm like, okay, I'll click and see the nonsense. So I took a screen grab of the article with that in the part of it that mentions Garrett Wilson. And you tell me if this is a load of BS the way I think it is. Quote, this one is flying a little under the radar, given that the Jets do not appear to have interest in moving off Wilson right now. Okay, so why are we writing this? I continue. In fact, I think the Jets want to make sure he's around to be paired with a long-term quarterback of the future, which I think will arrive in the 2027 draft. Again, why are we publishing this then? So that a rookie won't be saddled with a depleted set of skill position players. That said, I definitely got a sense when I was working on the All Juice team and speaking to a lot of front offices that Wilson is going to draw some, quote, check-in calls before, during, or after the draft from teams that missed out on a preferred wide receiver target. Wilson also fits in the schemes of virtually every team that's eyeing a potential first-round receiver in this draft. Again, to be clear, I haven't heard any indication whatsoever that the Jets are shopping him. Again, why are we writing this article? But there are a few teams that view Wilson among potential trade inquiries if the draft doesn't break their way at wideout. And while it seems unlikely that the new Jets regime would trade both Sauce Gardner and Wilson after signing them to extensions last offseason, I'd never say it's impossible. Let me say this to Charles Robinson and Yahoo Sports. You guys are an absolute disgrace. You are an embarrassment. You embarrassed your family. You brought great shame to your friends. This is pathetic. You don't write an article speculating about a trade on Garrett Wilson when you wrote in the article you have no evidence that this is even going to happen or the Jets have any interest on moving on from him, because they don't. They made that clear publicly. They made that clear to people who cover the team off the record that he is untouchable. If you did an ounce of research, you would know this is a horse crap story, and this is classic. Let's use the Jets for some clicks. That's what's happening here. Let's use the Jets name so then we can aggregate it out and make a graphic for it and put it on social media, and people will talk about it, because Yahoo Sports, I'm sure, is a dying sports company, and they needed to use the Jets to get likes. So I read that one. Congrats. I gave you your click, Yahoo. Congrats, Charles Robinson. You got your click. But I'm sorry. This is an absolute disgrace, and I'm not buying it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, technically, if a team with that has like a very high pick were to offer like 3 first-round picks and then something else, like, yeah, but it's just not practical. Like, there's no offer like that coming. And teams called for him at the trade deadline, and the Jets said fundamentally, within the realm of reason, he's kind of an untradeable player. So, yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. They're not going to trade Garrett Wilson. And the guy who wrote that knew that.
I mean, he's just like throwing it out there. Like, the article included like players who could be traded, right? So Dexter Lawrence is in there. Yeah, obviously he's requested a trade. So the link Garrett Wilson in there is just dumb. If you do an ounce of research, the Jets are desperate to get help at wide receiver to put next to Garrett Wilson. All the reports pre-draft have been they're thinking about moving up for one of these guys. So again, it's just trying to use the Jets for clicks, and the Jets are bad on their own. We don't need Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports to try and drum up more drama. So I digress, but I just thought that was a load of crap. And when I can defend the Jets, which is rare these days, I will certainly do it. This is total nonsense. As far as the debate at 2, Buffalo Jet fan, I know you were a Ruben Bain guy. It feels like that good fight might be over. Where do you land in the Reese and Bailey debate if it is indeed those two we're deciding between?
Yeah, it's not going to be Bane, probably like less than 1% chance. I do think that when Bane is out there on Sundays, he'll make it look a little silly that he wasn't at least a part of this conversation. But with Reese and Bailey, here's the thing, man. I actually think that these are going to be the second and third players drafted, regardless of which order they go in. So I think there's very extreme opinions on both of them. But it's like the people who are very negative on Reese, it's a complete projection. He's Isaiah Simmons or David Bailey. If he plays on the field, the opposing team is going to immediately have 500 rushing yards like the first snap. The NFL clearly disagrees with both of those things. These guys could be top 3 picks, both of them. Their floor is probably both going in the top 10. Now, oh man, this is as close as I've been. I was firmly in the camp of Membu last year, Bowers before it. This is pretty close for me. I think I would still lean Reese, but I'll talk about David Bailey first because I think David Bailey has become a little bit over hated in my opinion in like the Jet, the whatever social media sphere, if you want to call it that. Like David Bailey is good. I think David Bailey was a player who, coming from Stanford, was kind of looking like a maybe a second round DPR kind of prospect, and he bet on himself, took some nil money, and he put on some weight and tried to show the teams that he could be more of a 4-down player. And the beginning of the year, it looked similar to how it did at Stanford, where you're like, man, probably still in that player who's going to go maybe to later round one. And then the back end of the year, the run defense improved. He's an opportunistic run defender. Like he's got good length. He's a good tackler. That's one of the reasons why Will McDonald is such a bad run defender is because Will McDonald misses tackles like crazy. David Bailey doesn't miss tackles. He plays pretty well in space. And he started to win with the long arm and the bull rush a little bit more. So his power profile as an edge rusher improved down the stretch as well. Now he is going to be 23, so there could be that question of just how much more there is. But I think it's shown that that's a player who knew his weaknesses and was definitely willing to work on them. And the one thing Bailey has that no one can really sneeze at is like the production. Like the dude put like the pressures, hits, hurries, sacks, anything that measures how well you get to the quarterback. He was like top 3 in the nation in everything. And he's a good athlete, and he's got the prototype. He's got pretty close to prototypical frame. He's got obviously much longer arms than Bane. He's longer than Reese, and he's about 10 pounds heavier. Although Reese is so young, that's not that big of a deal. So when you got a player who's meets the size thresholds, who's a good athlete, maybe not the craziest Ben, but a good athlete, and he's got crazy production, those are some pretty good things to bet on. I know that there's maybe some people wonder how well he could do against top flight tackles, but Jake, I mean, you don't play at Penei Sewell every week. I mean, there's a lot of bum tackles in the NFL too. If you look at even within, look at the Jets, who they're going to start the year against, like Tennessee, Dan Moore and J.C. Latham. David Bailey probably has a pretty good day. Then they're probably going to get some division opponent at home, like Will Campbell and 37-year-old Morgan Moses. David Bailey probably has a pretty nice day there too. So Bailey's a pretty good player, and I think I wouldn't be losing my mind if they were to take him. I don't know if you want me to go to Arvo Reese or if I'm talking too much here or.
I think your breakdowns
Okay.
are awesome. Let me ask you this about Reese. How would you anticipate Aaron Glenn and the Jets defense using him right away? Because we keep hearing he could play all over, but what's the plan for Arvo Reese, you believe, in his first year if they take him?
I don't know. That's the great question, right? But I think that they will they will have a plan. I know that people say it's like, well, you're going to take him and there's no plan. Like, what are you going to do? And it's like, bro, that it's not like Arvo Reese is going to show up to camp and Dunbar and Glenn are going to look at each other and be like, oh shit, we forgot the plan. Wait, wasn't it you were supposed to do the plan or me? Who's got the plan? They're obviously going to have a plan of how to use him. Now, to me, I think that you have, in order to justify taking him at pick 2, it doesn't have to be a certain percentage of on the ball or off the ball, but you have to significantly tap into his pass rush upside. You have to. He has to get sacks. He has to get pressures. He's going to have to do that in order to justify being number 2 pick. Because you could argue if you just want an off-ball linebacker, I don't know if he's the best off-ball linebacker prospect on his team. It might be Sonny Styles. So I think that he's going to be around the line of scrimmage a lot. Now, it could be simulated pressures. It could be what the Cowboys did with Micah Parsons a lot. I'm not comparing the two. I think, Micah Parsons came out the box as like an all-pro player. I'm not saying he is Parsons, but I do think that's the kind of the concept of how you would deploy him, where you have him as part of a 5-man pressure plan where he's over guards and centers and just attack what develops in front of you. I think what Reese is, I think his floor is a little bit higher than some of his critics may give him credit for because he's so damn strong. Like whenever you're starting with the foundation of your power profile, like he will set an immovable edge. He'll dent pulling guards. Like he'll ragdoll tackles. So at 245 pounds, he just plays so damn strong, where I think a lot of these hybridy Isaiah Simmons types, they're more finesse players. Like Arvo Reese is a junkyard dog. He's really good in a phone booth. His ability to shed blocks. He's a great tackler. So anything where he is lined up off the ball and moving laterally or forward, he's a killer. He's a killer he's the most versatile run defender in the class. He's a killer in the short, flat yak game that's been a big thing in the NFL. Look at how the the Bills use Khalil Shakir, how the Steelers, like Kenneth Gainwell was like their number one target. So he helps you there. Now with Reese, the main question is he didn't have a ton of reps just one-on-one, like him against offensive tackles in true pass sets. Now he flashed a bit when he did. And I think the question, it may not even be a weakness, but a question is he kind of was able to be the benefit of having a lot of things available to him in that defense where guys like somebody like Ruben Bain or David Bailey, the opposing team was game planning against them as a pass rusher. Like, okay, third down, we're putting two bodies on Bain. We're putting two bodies on Bailey. Now, teams ran away from Reese because he's such a killer in the run game. They just literally ran away from him. But as a pass rusher, he didn't have to deal with teams saying, oh, we're shading up. Like when Bailey played Utah, Fano was just really oversetting because they had a running back on that side the whole time. Every third down, there was a running back to help against Bailey, which is why they could change Fano's sets, and it changed the whole tenor of that matchup. Whereas with Reese, he got a lot of stuff on blitzes. He got a lot of stuff on interior offensive linemen. So it's a question. Do I see the vision with Reese? Yeah, dude, he's so special. He moves different. He looks like how a lot of the defensive player of the year kind of candidates look and move in the NFL. But there's definitely, like, I think if you are someone who's says, hey man, you're asking this guy to be an edge and he did it like only this many times, I don't think you're crazy to have some trepidation about that. But also the upside is real. So I say all that to say, either one, man. Either one is
you're not freaking out draft night with either decision.
No, I'm not. I probably would be like 60-40 towards Reese because I do think him being 2.5 years younger is worthy to mention as sort of a tiebreaker. But David Bailey is good, man. Guys who produce like him are very rarely like bums in the NFL.
All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throwing some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. I think you're spot on. I lean Reese because of the upside. The thing I can't get over, though, the logic from those reporting the Jets are leaning Bailey being, well, they need someone to help Aaron Glenn more in 2026, and Reese might not be as productive as Bailey would be right away if you just say go and get the quarterback. That can't be the logic. Like, if the logic is you think David Bailey projects to be the best football player at a premium position, okay, you're not alone in that thought. That makes sense. I don't like the idea of, like, drafting a player at 2 and tying it to the head coach's job security. Like, Aaron Glenn's fate should not be decided based on their decision at number 2 in this draft. That's ridiculous.
No, and I kind of don't think it's fair to assume that that's what they're going to do. Like, those to me seem like more like outside of the Jets' national media talking points. And I think it's kind of silly, the idea that a non-quarterback rookie is going to save anybody's job.
Right.
I just think I reject that out the box. Like, the difference in their win total projection, if they take Reese or Bailey for the first year, probably won't change. I really don't think. I don't think I would change my prediction of how many wins. Like, what are they doing at kicker? If they have a bum kicker compared to like losing Nick Folk, that might be a bigger difference than Reese or Bailey year one. And also, I don't know if Reese has a lower impact year one, because I think that if he has multiple paths and like positions and alignments to be on the field a lot, he's going to be making plays out there too. So they're just going to take who they think is the best player, is really what it comes down to. I think anything making it more complicated than that is just trying to find different things to talk about.
So here's my thing with Reese too that I feel like doesn't get talked about. Shout out to Rich Samiti for putting together these numbers here. So he only had 97 pass rush snaps, but he was double teamed on 41 of them. So the teams knew this guy is a freak. And even though he barely was taught how to rush the passer, like that viral clip of him telling Ben Zolak he was like making up things on the fly because he wasn't really getting the opportunity to do it in games. He was only doing it sometimes in practice. Like, think about that. 97 pass rush snaps. He basically was double teamed on 40 on half of them, 41 of them. So including 11 in the final 2 games alone, when they really said, hey, like big games, playoffs, go and do it. And he was drawing double teams as a guy who was not training to be a pure edge rusher. Like that stat to me just stands out. Like, again, if you have a good D-line coach, which I think the Jets do in Dunbar, like you could turn Arvell Reese into a legit pass rusher. Like I know it's a projection, but all these guys are still a projection at the end of the day.
Hey, what's up, Jake? How you doing, man?
Hey, Ron, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I love your show. Just want to come on here and say I love your show. I've been watching you since you came onto the scene. I'm first time caller, so
Oh, welcome
uh,
aboard, Ron. How long have you been watching?
oh man, since the beginning time, man. Especially there's one time when you had I think it was BMAC. He was like fooling with BMAC, and you had him thinking Dave Brigger was just calling him out. I thought that was one of my favorite ones. I that was a pretty funny one. But but yeah, I'm a longtime Jets fan. I love the Jets. Um, I can't wait for the draft to come up. I sent a Snapchat yesterday. I was like, when are you gonna come to LA?
Oh, that
Because I
was
live
you.
out
Yeah.
in, but yeah, that was me. So yeah, I live out in LA. I'm in New York sometimes, but I'm mostly out here in LA.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'll tell you what, if the schedule all aligns, there's definitely a possibility we do that for the meetup game. We'll just see, what the dates are for everything.
Okay, yeah, that's dope, man.
All right, I got 2 quick points. The first point is I think that you go with Reese because in the weird chance like someone like Bain is available at 16, I know you want to focus on the offense. I think in a deep wide receiver draft, you got some choices in the second round, even though it's a curse. I feel like that clip from The Simpsons with the good news and the bad news. But I think that because you have a lot of depth in what you can get out of wide receiver, I think that if you pick Reese, then you could pick 2 players that could actually play on the field at the same time. And I think that flexibility tips the scales in favor of Reese over Bailey. So that's my first point.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Reese is a better football player. Howie Roseman said the other day, the Eagles draft for the players that they think is the best after their 3rd year. That's the right way to draft.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna drop my shirt down. Maybe we'll get him if we're lucky. So I got to pray for this, right? So
You need him to be arrested or something.
or make the Raiders blink. I have no idea. Anyway, enough.
Hello, Jake. How you doing?
Hello, Papa.
Hey, I did have a question a couple of days ago, but it was kind of running late. But I think you answered it yesterday, but I'll ask it anyways. If we do trade up, say to 6, 7, 8, wherever, and I don't have a problem doing that, and if Tate and Styles is there, I think you said yesterday you're taking Tate, right?
If Tate and Styles are there and the Jets could trade up, I would trade up for the receiver, not the linebacker.
Okay. To me, it's a tough call, but I think you're better off with Tate because I think the receiver drop off is more like when you start getting into the second round compared to the linebacker. So I agree with you, but it wouldn't be just run up the card. I'd have to think about it.
Look, Styles is awesome. I don't want to trade that much for a linebacker, and he's going to be really good. I don't dispute that. I just think the Jets are at a point right now where it needs to be about offense. Like they have the worst offense in the league every year. Like the only way you change that is to actually do something about it, like investing premium capital and getting playmakers.
Yeah.
This one is from Rob Daniels, who's in for 2. At the end of the season, they were doubling Reese. I'd rather Reese is my pick, but won't mind Bailey. To me, the draft starts at 16. Move up or stick and pick, but we need a wide receiver. Agreed. And this is where you have to hope that Muji has good sources around the league with other teams. He can get an idea for where the other receivers are projected to go. And if the Jets have a clear higher grade on like Carnell Tate versus everyone else, if that's your guy, then okay, you got to be willing to go up and get your guy. Or if they have comparable grades on the quote unquote big 3, and you think one will be there for you at 16, then you don't trade up. Then you trust your sources that one of those guys will be there. But that's where you need to have good relationships with other teams, other people in the media, right? You know, what is Schefter hearing about what Kansas City might do? Are they going to take a receiver? Or New Orleans? Like, does Muji have those connections? This is where you learn a lot.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.